This gorilla stayed awake for 48 hours straight. Who he was guarding will melt your heart. The air in the clearing was thick, not just with the heavy, humid promise of rain that always seems to hang over the lowlands of the Congo, but with a tension so palpable it felt like a physical weight, pressing against the chest of anyone brave enough to stand near. In the center of this emerald theater sat Kibo, a silverback of immense stature, his fur the color of a darkening storm cloud shot through with threads of moonlight. But Kibo was not acting like a silverback. He was not patrolling the perimeter of his troops' territory, nor was he reclining in the dappled shade to enjoy a midday snack of wild celery. For 48 hours, Kibo had not closed his eyes. His massive, obsidian-colored hands, usually capable of crushing a mahogany branch with the casual grace of a god, were trembling almost imperceptibly. He sat perfectly still, a silent sentinel against the creeping shadows of the forest floor, his gaze fixed on a small, unmoving heap of gold-tinted fur huddled between his enormous thighs. The keepers at the sanctuary had never seen anything like it. Normally, a silverback would lead his family away from a sick or dying member to protect the group. But Kibo had stayed. He had defied every instinct of self-preservation, every biological urge to sleep and eat, to stand guard over a mystery that was breaking his heart in real time. The only sound in the humid silence was the ragged, shallow rasp of breathing. Not Kibo's, but the small creature he shielded. Before we delve deeper into this incredible journey of devotion and the shocking secret Kibo was protecting, I want to take a moment to welcome you to our community. If stories of the profound bond between animals and humans touch your soul, please consider hitting that like button and subscribing to the channel. It helps us keep sharing these powerful narratives with the world. We would also love to hear from you. Tell us in the comments where in the world you are watching from and what time it is there right now. We find it so beautiful that, despite the miles between us, we can all gather here to witness the wonders of the natural world together. To understand why Kibo's vigil was so extraordinary, one must understand the world he inhabited before the silence fell. The sanctuary was a sprawling tapestry of ancient ferns, towering hardwoods, and the sweet fermented scent of fallen fruit. For years, Kibo had been the undisputed heart of this place. He was a leader of quiet dignity, known for his patience with the younger gorillas and his peculiar habit of resting his head against the glass when his favorite keeper, a woman named Elena, would come to check on him. Their bond was forged in the quiet hours of early morning, when the mist still clung to the ground like a wet blanket, and the air smelled of damp earth and crushed mint. Elena had raised Kibo from a traumatized infant, and in return he had given her his absolute trust. She knew the texture of his skin, leathery and warm, and the way his amber eyes could communicate a depth of grief or joy that no human words could ever capture. But 2 days ago, that peace had been shattered. It started with a low, mournful rumble from the depths of the enclosure, a sound that vibrated in the marrow of the keeper's bones. When Elena arrived, she found Kibo in the corner of the night den, refusing to move, refusing to eat the sweet potatoes he loved, and most importantly, refusing to let anyone near the small, limp form of a young female named Nia, who lay tucked beneath his protective arm. As the hours stretched into a second day, the situation grew desperate. The sanctuary's veterinary team watched through the monitors, their faces etched with a growing sense of helplessness. The clinical signs were worsening. Kibo's eyes were bloodshot, the skin around them sagging with the exhaustion of 1,000 lifetimes. He smelled of salt, musk, and the sharp, acidic scent of adrenaline fueled fear. Nia, the young gorilla he was guarding, was fading. Her breathing was a ghostly echo of what it should be, and her skin had lost its healthy, supple glow, turning a bruised, ashen gray. Dr. Eris, the head veterinarian, paced the observation room, the floorboards creaking under his boots. He explained to the staff that in the wild, this behavior was unheard of. A silverback might protect a fallen comrade for a few hours, but 48 hours without rest was a biological impossibility for a creature that required immense caloric intake and sleep to maintain its massive frame. Kibo was literally wasting away before their eyes, his muscles twitching with fatigue. Yet every time a medic approached the gate, Kibo would let out a roar that shook the very foundations of the building. A sound of pure, unadulterated warning. It wasn't aggression, it was a plea. He wasn't trying to hurt them. He was trying to save something they couldn't see. The mystery deepened as the sun began to set on the second day, casting long, bloody streaks of light across the enclosure. The air turned cool and crisp, smelling of pine and the incoming storm. Elena noticed something through the high-powered binoculars that everyone else had missed. Every few minutes, Kibo would gently, almost invisibly, press his ear against Naya's chest. Then, he would use his large index finger to trace a very specific pattern on her abdomen. He wasn't just guarding her, he was monitoring her. He was acting as a living heart-lung machine, his own rhythmic grunting seemingly timed to encourage her to keep breathing. But why? Why Nia? She wasn't his biological daughter. She was an orphan who had joined the troop only months prior. The experts were baffled. Was it possible that the Silverback had sensed a medical emergency that their sensors and cameras had missed? The desperation in the room reached a fever pitch when Kibo finally slumped, his head nodding forward for a split second before he jerked himself awake with a violent shudder. He was reaching his limit. If they didn't intervene soon, they might lose both of them, one to an unknown ailment and the other to the sheer physical toll of a broken heart. The reveal came in the middle of a torrential downpour. The rain lashed against the sanctuary roofs with a rhythmic drumming, washing away the dust of the dry season and filling the air with the metallic tang of ozone. Under the cover of the storm, Elena decided to do something risky. She approached the mesh without the vet team, carrying only a small bundle of the specific wild herbs Kibo used to seek out when he had an upset stomach. She sat on the cold concrete floor and began to hum a low, steady melody, a song she had used to soothe him when he was a frightened baby. For a long time, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the great Silverback turned his head. His eyes met hers, and in that moment the why became clear. Kibo shifted his weight, and for the first time in 2 days, he fully uncovered Nia's torso. There, hidden in the thick fur of her side, was a jagged, festering wound, likely caused by a freak accident with a sharp piece of fallen wood that had gone unnoticed during the initial chaos. But that wasn't the secret. The secret was what Kibo was doing to the wound. He had been packing it with a specific moss found only in the highest reaches of the enclosure, a moss known to have natural antibiotic properties. He wasn't just guarding her. He had been performing a primitive, yet sophisticated form of surgery. He had stayed awake to ensure she didn't pick at the packing and to keep the flies away from the infection. He had sacrificed his own life force because he knew that the moment he slept, she would die from the sepsis he was fighting with every ounce of his being. The tension in the air snapped like a dry twig. Now that the truth was out, the medical team moved with surgical precision. Elena's presence had calmed Kibo just enough for them to administer a long-range sedative to the Silverback. As the drug took hold, Kibo's massive frame finally went limp, falling into the deep, heavy sleep he had fought so hard to avoid. The team rushed in, whisking Nia away to the infirmary. The next few hours were a blur of sterile white lights, the sharp smell of antiseptic, and the frantic beeping of monitors. They cleaned the wound, administered high-dose antibiotics, and discovered that Kibo's moss packing had actually saved her from a lethal systemic infection. He had held the line against death itself. But the real resolution didn't happen in the surgery suite. It happened 24 hours later, when Kibo woke up. The reunion was a scene that will forever be etched into the memories of everyone who witnessed it. Kibo was back in his enclosure, looking sluggish but alert. When the door to the holding area opened and a bandaged but stable, Nia was released back to him. The change in the atmosphere was instantaneous. The heavy, acidic scent of fear was gone, replaced by the sweet smell of fresh hay and the earthy aroma of the forest after a rain. Kibo didn't roar. He didn't even stand up. He simply opened his arms. Nia ran to him, her small hands clutching his silver fur, and buried her face in his chest. As they sat there, the two of them began to breathe in perfect synchronization, a rhythmic, deep rise and fall of their chests that signaled the final release of tension. Kibo rested his chin on the top of her head, his eyes finally closing in a peaceful, earned slumber. The silence that followed was no longer heavy. It was light, filled with the quiet grace of a battle won. This story leaves us with a profound philosophical legacy. We often think of empathy and complex medical reasoning as uniquely human traits, yet Kibo showed us a sixth sense of love that transcends species. He didn't have a degree in medicine, but he had a doctorate in devotion. He understood the stakes in a way that was purely intuitive, sensing the heat of infection and the rhythm of a failing heart through the palms of his hands. It teaches us that animal intelligence isn't just about problem-solving or tool use, it's about the capacity to value another life above one's own comfort. It's a reminder that in the wild, as in our own lives, the strongest force isn't the power of the muscle or the sharpness of the tooth, but the quiet, enduring strength of a bond that refuses to let go, even when the world goes dark. Kibo's 48-hour vigil wasn't just a feat of endurance, it was a testament to the fact that love is a universal language, spoken in the silence of a forest and understood by the heart. As we close the chapter on Kibo and Naya's story, we are reminded of the incredible resilience of the spirit and the mysterious connections that bind all living things. Kibo's sacrifice saved a life, but it also opened our eyes to the depths of the animal soul. We hope this story brought a bit of light to your day and reminded you of the beauty that exists in the world's quietest corners. If you found Kibo's journey as moving as we did, please give this video a like and share it with someone who needs a reminder of the power of love. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more deep dives into the extraordinary lives of animals and the people who protect them. Before you go, we have a question for you. Have you ever witnessed an animal show a sixth sense, or an act of intuition that felt almost human? Whether it's a pet or a wild animal you've observed, we would love to read your stories in the comments below. Your experiences help us all understand the magnificent world we share just a little bit better. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next story.